The story in this video is about slavery and racism, so you may find it emotionally challenging. Please, while watching, be empathetic to the story as it's told. Topics of race, racism, racist slurs, violence, and social economic class are involved. Any hateful, harmful comments will be deleted.
Yes, Mom, I'm gonna be here all by myself. Yeah, 'cause they're closed for Flag Day. I don't know if they're gonna be closed for MLK Day too. We start the earliest of any of the HBCUs. I'm never gonna be here for that anyways. Plus, I don't know if I'm even gonna wanna be here. I might just stay in Greece. Psh, yes, you would too come visit me. Yeah, all I do is answer the phones. This is supposed to be a marketing internship, but I haven't even done anything on the website yet. No, I don't know how to make a website yet, but neither do they. I'll get to that in spring semester, after I get back from Greece. All right then, Mom, I gotta let you go. You know how strict they are about being on the phone, and I am a model employee who's getting an outstanding recommendation. Okay, Mom, love you too. Bye. Okay, better go check my email and get started.
The story of Oakmont Plantation began with tragedy. Following the destruction of the nearby Blackhaven Hall during the American Revolution, the once great Harwood Dynasty was left without a home deserving of their storied name. Still dealing with the sacrifices his family had made to make America free, William Harwood, now the family patriarch, led the construction of a new plantation house, a house which he named Oakmont. More modest than the sprawling Georgian mansion of Blackhaven, Oakmont's pristine white exterior would foster new generations of American success. In this plantation history, Rosemary Lambert follows generations of Harwood through the halls of Oakmont, from the wistful days of the debutante balls to the tragic news of Civil War losses to new heights of wealth and industry in the 20th century. Every day, the chaos of life daily life threatens the business you work so hard to build. Now, Thomas Harwood III shows you how to reject mediocrity and excuses by taking back authority and making your own success. Thomas Harwood knows deep down we've all been getting a little soft and he's had enough. Bob Grays. The party's over. This book proves it's time to get serious and defend what you've earned. Michael Davis. Thomas Harwood III is the CEO of Harcorp Industries, one of the fast-growing multinationals in the world. Oakmont Plantation. After Blackhaven, don't forget to visit the historic Oakmont Plantation, home of minister, financial wizard, and agricultural innovator William Harwood. A great American legacy continues at this 19th century antebellum architectural jewel and its unmatched grounds. Relive the Civil War romance Gideon Harwood and his wife Anna, and honor the noble sacrifices made in the defense of freedom.
Good morning, Thomas. I see you up there looking down at me. All right, Helen, what you got for me this morning?
Dear Kendra, let me formally congratulate you on starting your first day at the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society. Be very proud of yourself to have received this opportunity. I'll be coming by first thing in the morning to go over basics and give you the tour, but I also wanted to pass along some ground rules for you when you're at reception. Please make sure you're in your seat, visible and smiling, all shift except for your scheduled breaks. Answer every call to the desk with, "Good morning" or "Afternoon. Thanks for calling Blackhaven Hall. This is Kendra speaking. How may I help you?" And remember, you're going to be the first point of contact for our guests, so always maintain a dignified tone and no slang. Number 3, a reminder our dress code is business casual, so avoid any loud colors or accessories and make sure to keep your hair neat. Number 4, you are technically consenting to be filmed by our cameras throughout the day, but I wouldn't fret about it. Bill only even looks at those if there's an irregularity with door entries and exits. Number 5, always follow directions closely. We run a tight ship and don't want to have to ask twice. I think that's about it for now. I look forward to seeing you in just a bit. Helen Morris, it's Flag Day again. Hi everyone, once again it's time for our biggest blowout bash of the year, celebrating Flag Day in style with our Blackhaven family. Because the 4th of July is always one of our biggest visitor days of the year, the Historical Society chose another patriotic summer to show our appreciation to all of you. Once again, we will be celebrating at the Tidewater Country Club, just off Highway 60 past the interchange. We will be grilling Blackhaven style with catering provided by the club and open bar, and plenty of festive activities. Garden party attire is expected, ladies in white, men in navy, but everyone should bring their most creative starred and striped accessories. Since most of you are members of the club already, also don't forget to bring your swim trunks, and you can see Phil or Debbie if you want to set up tea times before or after lunch. We'll see every last one of you and your families out there starting at 11 a.m. to wave our Star-Spangled Banners, the USA. Instructions. Hi, Kendra. Thank you again for holding down the fort today. Just wanted to pass along your special assignment. I really hope you can get through all these since you'll have the place to yourself with no visitors. Number 1, I heard from our consultants that most of the new apps have completed uploading on our digital guide devices. I'd like you to test the Gallery Quiz app and make sure you can get through it without any issue. It'll also be good for you to brush up on the museum collections. Number 2, the new audio tour file should be uploaded, so why don't you try to go up to the big house and test all those out. Make sure to listen to the end of each and let me know if you notice anything odd. I told maintenance to activate your badge for the house for today, even though it's otherwise locked up. Number 3, if you can get both of those done before lunch in the afternoon, I'd like you to continue your document scanning in the archives so we can finally start getting some of our stuff up on the website. Maybe you'll be able to help us a little with the coding? And can you hit the following folders? I pulled the boxes for each of them out in the archives for you. Thomas Harwood, Papers Folder 18, Anna Harwood, Papers Folder 9, Archaeological Reports Folder 6. Make sure you read through each of these pages before scanning to make sure they are legible, and please don't skip any pages. I left the archive key for you at the front desk. When you finish, please return it to the top desk drawer in my office. Your badge won't open any doors in the office wing after 5 p.m. So it's very important to get it returned before then. Also, the security cameras will be on today, so don't get any wild ideas. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Between you and me, you're really the lucky one, not having to listen to our donors go on and on at the picnic. Thanks a bunch, Helen. Welcome to Blackhaven Hall. Journey back to the bygone era of the American Revolution and explore one of the most overlooked of historic American homes, home of Thomas Harwood, America's forgotten founding father. Blackhaven Hall was host to the fight for American freedom and enterprise for over 3 centuries. Once lost to the cruel fires of a British raid, Blackhaven has now been restored an award-winning architectural marvel of glass and steel. Along with walking in the footsteps of great Americans in the main house, the site is also home to the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society. Our museum gallery contains some of the only surviving artifacts from the original estate, as well as an account of the harrowing Battle of Blackhaven. We also operate a research library for credentialed scholars covering each generation of the Harwood Dynasty to the present. And don't forget to visit our sister site, the Oakmont Plantation, still the current home of the Harwood family.
Alright, I'll start by testing the gallery quiz. Let me grab a charged digital tour guide.
It's your day. On your special day, there's no reason to take chances. Let us ensure a perfect ceremony in one of Virginia's most picturesque and historic estates. You can enjoy peace of mind knowing you're trusted. Blackhaven's centuries-long tradition of putting love and family first.
Okay, got it turned on. How much did they pay to get their logo on here? Let me get my headphones. To the gallery. Let's get this quiz going. Gallery quiz. Got it. Oh, how beige. Okay, scan the object that answers the question. Alright, first one, let's get this.
Blackhaven Hall, humble beginnings, hard work, and the American dream. Our story begins with an American initiative and ingenuity. In 1645, Nathaniel Harwood smartly purchased a group of underperforming farms after a surprise attack by roving Indians massacred many of their owners. He called his new estate Blackhaven, likely after a shady inlet near the riverbank, but possibly because the farm had already played host to so many dark events. Refusing to accept mediocrity, Nathaniel made Blackhaven's lands more productive than ever, and in 1697 his son Christopher built a modest brick house which he named Blackhaven Hall. Christopher adopted the swan as the symbol of Blackhaven, remembering the noble birds that once swam in a nearby pond during his childhood. Blackhaven rose to true greatness under the visionary Samuel Harwood, who labored to greatly expand the plantation's workforce, earning a sizable fortune for his efforts. In 1734, he expanded Blackhaven Hall into a proper mansion with an imposing columned facade and richly carved interior. Now known as one of Virginia's finest homes, Blackhaven would attain its final grandeur under the great patriot Thomas Harwood, who added 2 flanking halls in 1770. On the south end, an edifying library for his massive book collection, and to the north, a lively ballroom for his beloved wife, Sarah. Portrait of Samuel Harwood. Dedicated to preserving our past. For over 100 years, the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society has preserved the legacy of the Harwood family and their commitment to American liberty and enterprise. The BHHS began following a series of local commemorations for the 1876 U.S. Centennial, when Anna Harwood, great-granddaughter of Samuel and grandniece of Thomas, organized the first meeting of the Blackhaven Ladies Remembrance Society, which assembled each year to share stories and connect families with colonial heritage. Anna's son Benjamin carried on her spirit and formally founded the Blackhaven Historical Society in 1915, which sponsored annual elections at Oakmont Plantation and began fundraising for a proper museum. In 1938, the BHHS received funding from the Works Progress Administration and built a small one-room museum at the current site, modeled after Thomas Harwood's one-room farm. After many successful years, in 1967, the Society challenged its patrons to raise funds for a modern museum to commemorate the National Bicentennial. The Society broke ground on time in 1976, and our current museum opened its doors on July 4th, 1978. Refined and revolutionary household. There was never a place of greater refinement, said one visitor to Blackhaven Hall, which by the end of the 18th century was arguably Virginia's greatest private home. Our galleries reflect only a small selection from the once luxuriously appointed rooms at Blackhaven, the result of the peerless discretion and good taste of Thomas and Sarah Harwood, who commissioned and purchased the work of fine craftsmen from throughout the colonies, and even traveled to London to keep their home filled with the latest fashions. The Society's collection of furnishing and decorative arts is the result of many generous donors, including multiple families descended from Harwood themselves. Thomas Harwood, America's forgotten founding father. He was a businessman and inventor, a militia captain, member of the House of Burgesses, loving husband and father, architect, inventor, author and historian, and signer of the Declaration of Independence. From the pen of Thomas Harwood was a prolific writer, but many of his works have been lost to the ages. Nevertheless, the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society is the proud owner of the civic leader's most important writings. The collection below includes letters from Harwood's wide network of correspondence, as well as his account book from the early 1770s. A Lifetime of Discovery, the New World's greatest library. Thomas Harwood has long gone unrecognized as one of the most learned men of America. His staggering intellect was fueled by his collection of thousands of books, and at one time the largest library in the entire colonies. Thomas' interests were universal, with books in poetry, drama, history, architecture, agriculture, travel, economics, astronomy, botany, and optics. Tragically, the majority of these volumes were destroyed along with Blackhaven, but thanks to Harwood's famed generosity, a few volumes he had graciously loaned to friends survived to be part of this exhibit. Scientific inquiry. Like many of our founding fathers, Thomas Harwood was a student of enlightenment and obsessed with new discoveries. Thomas was fond of tinkering with scientific instruments, including microscopes, orreries, and camera obscurers like the one below, which uses an early lens to focus incoming light, projecting a live image onto its rear mirror.
Oh, hey there. I wonder if this is the first time it's ever been just you and another black girl here. What stories must you have about these people?
The Legend of Farmer Joe. A popular Blackhaven legend tells of Farmer Joe, a loyal field hand who rushed back into the burning house to retrieve its treasures, dragging them one by one onto the lawn until the smoke was too thick to continue. Historians have debated the authenticity of this story for decades, and the first mention of Farmer Joe only appears in the memoir of Rebecca Harwood, written shortly before the Civil War. 18th century records do list one worker, a Scotch-Irish immigrant named Joseph Murphy, on the Blackhaven payroll, who might indeed have contributed to the legend of Farmer Joe. In the years since, Farmer Joe has attained the mythic status of a folk hero and is usually pictured defiantly brandishing a pitchfork and a lantern. The Battle of Blackhaven. Despite Patriot control of Virginia, the Harwoods had long worried Blackhaven might be targeted by British ships sailing up the James River. In spring of 1781, their fears were realized. Thomas and the rest of his family barricaded themselves in Blackhaven, valiantly exchanging musket fire with the boats below as they shelled the mansion. When a shrapnel from an aerial bomb set fire to the roof, Thomas vowed to fight to the death, but his devoted family begged and convinced him to escape into the night with their loyal servants. Champion of Liberty. Thomas Harwood was a fierce supporter of individual liberty and the promise of American dream. His love of English culture initially left him reluctant to support the Massachusetts rebels, but when Governor Dunmore threatened freedom and local property rights in Virginia, Thomas became an enthusiastic revolutionary, even paying to publish his pamphlet, Our Present Crisis, where he penned his most famous phrase, "Without property, no man lives free." The end of an era. Now only a pasture. After the total destruction of Blackhaven Hall by fire, many called to rebuild, but the ever-defiant Thomas Harwood vowed to leave the ruins standing as a reminder of British treachery. Unfortunately, the last master of Blackhaven would never see a new home, as Thomas succumbed to a strange illness and passed away early in 1782. His wife Sarah moved herself and the children to Maryland to live on her family estate, and eventually sold most of the Blackhaven property to William Harwood, Thomas's brother. William's son Timothy would later build nearby Oakmont Plantation, the current home of the Harwood Dynasty, and incorporate the Blackhaven lands and staff into his farm. An enduring legacy. Continued discoveries, now new discoveries about the daily life of colonial Americans, are being made every day by the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society. In addition to our research programs and our collection of the Harwood family paper, the Society has sponsored multiple archaeological digs over the years. Below are just a few of the wide variety of recovered artifacts that Blackhaven's residents left for us to appreciate today. Reclaim the past and build the future. We refuse to let our heritage disappear. Your support makes sure it never will. Consider giving today.
Nah, come on. Literally the first painting. Not too tough so far. Which one is Sarah again? Is she the kid? For when you want to sit up really straight with two friends. Servants, huh?
Teapot, unknown artist, excavated from servants' quarters at Blackhaven Hall. Porcelain. Archaeologists at Blackhaven were stunned when they unearthed this broken but complete teapot while digging at the site of servant quarters. Far too fine for the simple concerns of staff, researchers eventually determined it belonged to the porcelain collections already on display in this very gallery. No one can be certain how the teapot got so far away from its rightful owners, but one theory suggests a clumsy servant may have broken it and hidden it away to avoid taking responsibility.
I like this better than the unbroken ones. I bet there was more to this story. So aside from anything these people made up, oh, Othello, it's like ninth grade all over again. Except Miss Hayes isn't looking right at me asking if anyone understands where Othello is coming from. He's made up, right? So doesn't that mean all of them? Or none of them?
A punched tin lantern, unknown artist, recovered from the site of the large tobacco barn. Tin, this lantern has a treasured place in Harwood family lore, as it's rumored for many decades to have been the one carried by the folk hero, Farmer Joe, during the Battle of Blackhaven. Its actual origins are unclear, as records show it was first discovered sitting in an old barn on the property in the late 19th century. Also, unlike the glass lanterns often depicted on popular images of Farmer Joe, punched tin lanterns were designed primarily to protect a lit candle from the wind while outdoors, rather than to provide one with illumination.
Somehow, this doesn't seem like it'd be very bright. This one has got to be easy. This is not doing it for me. No bald eagle available? Although swans definitely did some messed up stuff in mythology, says my A+ in that class. This is a real bougie way of saying fake. This lets you see all the stuff you already got, only lower quality. Watch out, guests, we got a math question. Are we sure one of these didn't burn down Blackhaven? So, is he saying nobody my age gets to be free? I was gonna be like the couch, but we already did that one. Where are the Blackhaven vapes at? Yes, I've won absolutely nothing. This is why I'm running stuff today. Now I'm about to go check this off my list for Helen. I need to go check the quiz off my list at reception. Quiz is done. Literally the first person to pass. Time to head outside and get that audio tour. Good morning. Thanks for calling Blackhaven Hall. This is Kendra speaking. How may I help you?
Oh, hi there. I had a question. Is Catherine there? I usually like to talk to Catherine.
I'm sorry, she's not working today.
Well, that's fine. I'm sure you can help me, Sandra. See, the thing is, I have a question about Thomas Harwood's military service. As you know, in 1765, Thomas Harwood was listed as captain of the county militia, who, by all accounts, wore the traditional pewter waistcoat buttons. But at a local auction, I have come across a brass button claiming to be from Harwood's unit. So what I need you to tell me is...
Actually, sir, I'm just...
Because what I was thinking was, maybe this button is not from the county militia, but from the county enlistment of U.S. regulars. Because as you know, in Blanchard's, he shows that, wait, actually, the French scouts who were stationed with the U.S. regiment did have brass buttons. And they camped at Blackhaven in 1781, so that explains it.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Deidre, you have just been a huge help to me. Just absolutely fantastic. I cannot thank you enough. Keep up the good fight. Semper Fi.
You're welcome? Ooh, finally my chance to read up on Blackhaven all by myself. Okay, back to start. Audio tour. This is totally gonna ruin my Spotify. Don't hate the view. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society audio tour. I'll be your host throughout your journey into the world of Thomas Harwood, America's forgotten founding father. You can begin walking towards the house now. We recommend you take the path on the left. You can pause or restart each tour stop at any time by using the touchscreen on your personal digital tour guide. Once a stop is finished, just scan the QR code on another plaque to continue. Your digital device will show you the remaining stops you have left to visit. You can also rescan any plaque to hear its tour stop again. For the moment, let's forget the present and travel back to 1781, at the height of the American Revolution. You're now walking along the same grand entrance path that guests to Blackhaven took towards the mansion, after passing through the gate of the large brick wall that surrounded this yard. Blackhaven was not always so imposing. In the 1600s, this land was used mostly by small tobacco farmers who bravely crossed the ocean to start new lives in Virginia. But on a misty night in 1644, many of those lives ended when a band of treacherous Indians launched a sneak attack, ruthlessly killing even women and children. Still to this day, some say you can see the ghosts of these families trying to find one another, some even without their scalps. These stories didn't intimidate Nathaniel Harwood. He smartly purchased discounted lots and began the story of Blackhaven as we know it. We'll continue our tour at the top of the hill.
Damn, are they all gonna be that long? Or have ghosts?
Blackhaven grounds, this impressive lawn once provided the approach to one of Virginia's finest homes. Originally, the grounds were surrounded by a red brick perimeter wall and had to be mowed by hand. This gallery stands at about the same location as the original Blackhaven Gate.
I thought the last one was the grand view.
You've now reached the grand circle of Blackhaven Hall, where visiting carriages would parade. But in 1781, there were additional buildings. To the left stood the kitchen, built freestanding to keep out smells, smoke, and protect against fires. British cannon, however, were another story. To the right stood the fine stables, housing beloved animals, including Eleanor Harwood's legendary horse, Duchess. Let's take a closer look at the house.
This girl really named her horse Duchess.
Grand entrance, visiting carriages could parade in front of the grand house along the circle path. Originally, this site also featured two flanking buildings, a freestanding kitchen set apart to prevent fires, and stables for Blackhaven's most prominent horses. Porch. The first Blackhaven Hall was a smaller but still elegant brick home completed in 1697. The final Georgian masterpiece was the later work of Samuel Harwood, who added imposing columned porches. The glass and steel restoration was completed in 2019 using designs from JJC Architects.
Oh, I know this style. Ionic, I think. No, Doric. Greece, you didn't hear that.
Before we go in, step back and take in Blackhaven Hall. This house is an example of Georgian architecture, named after British kings, like the tyrant King George III. This style features symmetry, balance, and Greco-Roman influences, but with little ornamentation. Thanks to a state-of-the-art structural glass restoration, Blackhaven now has regained its original form. This striking, award-winning design by international firm JJC Architects duplicates the original porches, peaked roof, and top rows of dormer windows. Completed in 2019 at a cost of over $20 million, the restoration received funding from Harcorp Industries and its CEO, Thomas Harwood III, and is even LEED certified. Let's go inside.
They're really trying to boost the environment on a tobacco plantation.
The foyer, Blackhaven's entrance foyer, once featured a dizzying staircase and elaborate ornamented woodwork throughout. The current glass and steel staircase was designed to the exact specifications of the original.
We need to get the reception desk up in here.
You're now in what was once one of the finest rooms in all of Virginia, with elaborate oak carvings handcrafted by Blackhaven carpenters. Straight ahead is the grand staircase, matching the exact dimensions of the original. You might be wondering at this point what's under your feet. Below is one of the vaulted Blackhaven cellar rooms. You can explore the cellar in a later stop. The open spaces to the right likely held parlors for the Harwood family to relax together. Let's go through the doorway to the left, into the former Harwood dining room, where meals were brought from the kitchen every day. Operating an 18th century household was hard and thankless work, requiring cooking, cleaning, lighting fires, and managing staff. But according to Thomas's diary, his wife Sarah did so always with a smile. To see how Thomas showed his gratitude, head through the door to the outside.
Yeah, Sarah must have really thrown her back out for everybody.
The ballroom, perhaps the largest private ballroom in the colonies, this space for dancing and entertaining was built by Thomas Harwood for his wife, Sarah. The marble fireplace is one of the few original fixtures to survive to the present day.
This space was arguably the largest ballroom in the colony, outshining even the governor's mansion in Williamsburg. Thomas built it for his wife Sarah, who, although careful and pious, loved entertaining, especially at the annual Harvest Ball, a must-attend event for every Virginian. The impressive marble fireplace that kept dozens of dancing couples warm is one of the few fixtures to survive the Blackhaven fire. Thomas wrote regularly to General Washington throughout his life, which may explain this fireplace's similarity to one at Mount Vernon. If you're interested in trying to dance yourself, you can scan the bonus plaque to hear an 18th century minuet. Try your luck at dancing the pattern. Let's head down the stairs.
I gotta start watching to see if people actually try to do this.
Make your debut. The Harvest Ball at Blackhaven was one of the biggest events on the Virginian social calendar. Popular 18th century dances like the minuet were all the rage. Trying the minuet for yourself couldn't be easier. Just scan this plaque to hear a simple tune and follow the steps below.
For real?
Defiant Gate, an enduring symbol of American perseverance, the surviving doorway became known as the Defiant Gate when it remained intact following the burning of Blackhaven. Due to damage from many decades, the current woodwork is a 20th century reproduction.
The brick arch above has become known as the Defiant Gate because its majestic and haunting shape survived the Blackhaven fire. So popular with visitors that many would break off pieces to take home as souvenirs, the elaborate carved doorway you see now is actually a reproduction installed in 1954, though some still mistake it for the original. The gate has also hosted many weddings, and local superstition says no unmarried couple can pass through together or their love will be forever broken. This legend may stem from Eleanor Harwood, who refused to dance with her fiancé in Blackhaven's ballroom before they were wed. In the spirit of freedom, we'll let you do as you please, but we are not responsible for any broken hearts. Head around to the rear side of the house and look for the stairs to the cellar for the next stop.
Don't worry, my mom would be trying to break off something else if I tried to get married here.
Leave your mark. Inspired by the still undeciphered chalk symbol found in this room, many visitors to Blackhaven over the years added their own variations on Harwood's Lucky 8. In this spirit, we invite you to leave your own mark and celebrate the perseverance of the Harwood family. The cellar. The cellar once stored alcohol from around the world for Blackhaven's extensive entertaining calendar. It survives largely as it would have during the 18th century, with strong brick vaults supporting the weight of the house above.
Come on, guys. It's usually just the balls or the name. It's actually kind of impressive to get them both on one.
Of all the stops on our tour, this is the one that looks closest to how it might have in 1781. The Harwood cellar stored all the beer, ale, and imported wine the family needed to entertain in the ballroom above. If you look up now, you can see the first level where we stopped before. You may also notice curious drawings on the cellar walls. Visitors to the Blackhaven ruins notice the central symbol, naming it Harwood's Lucky 8, and the shape has come to represent the resilience of the Harwood family. Although Thomas loved codes and ciphers, we don't know who drew the original, and many subsequent tourists added their own variations. These are now their own history and protected by glass, but you're welcome to add your own on our post-it wall.
It really doesn't look like an 8, though.
The river view, this charming view of the water, has changed dramatically from the 18th century, when an elaborate walled garden stood between the house and the river. Blackhaven also operated a private wharf on the shore to load shipments of its tobacco on vessels returning to Europe.
I could get used to this view.
Plantations like Blackhaven often had their own ports for shipping tobacco. So for many visitors, this rear side of the house was the front. Workers would roll down large barrels called hogsheads to be loaded into the tall ships bound for the Chesapeake Bay and out to the Atlantic. The distant riverbank is dotted with small creeks and inlets, including one shady pool that may have given Blackhaven its name. During the 19th century, a legend arose that Samuel Harwood had done business with pirates and had allowed them to bury their gold beneath one of the riverbanks. In hard times, treasure hunters can still be sometimes spotted, although now with metal detectors. One treasure we know existed was the spectacular walled garden that once stood between here and the river, full of exotic plants and flowers to support Thomas's study of botany. Now, let's head back inside. This time, take the stairs all the way to the top.
They really need to do the garden next.
Pillars of Dynasty. Here stand the only Blackhaven's columns to survive the fire that engulfed the mansion. Made of shaped brick with a plaster exterior, this set was moved inside for preservation, and replicas incorporated into the facade of the front porch. The Battle of Blackhaven, hour by hour. At 9 p.m., the Harwood family retires for bed for the last time in Blackhaven Hall. They remembered Thomas reading from a book on botany while young Elizabeth slept with the river in view from here, this here window. 10 p.m., a British naval vessel sails by the most distant of Blackhaven's farming settlements, approaching the main house. By 11 p.m., rising at the commotion of servants running to the house, Thomas spots the mast of a British ship at the anchor near the Blackhaven wharf. By 12 a.m., British officers send envoys to negotiate the surrender and evacuation of Blackhaven, but are met with small arms fire from loyal workers. 1 a.m., following an extended standoff, British soldiers bring small cannon and mortars ashore and begin shelling the main house. By 2 a.m., a piece of mortar shrapnel breaks through an attic window and ignites stored linens. Blackhaven is ablaze, and the Harwood family flees into the night. 3 a.m., farm workers barricade themselves inside the tobacco drying barn in an attempt to slow the pursuit of British soldiers. After a small skirmish, the Patriots retreat. 4 a.m., from nearly 5 miles away, Robert Williams of nearby Shady Grove Plantation reports seeing the fire and smoke from Blackhaven. At 5 a.m., the fire continues to rage and spreads to the freestanding kitchen and stables. Blackhaven burns to the ground. The observation deck. This is the highest point in the Blackhaven reconstruction, nearly 5 modern stories up, providing a commanding view of both the sheer scale of the original house and the surrounding lands. The glass platform is supported primarily by the cables attached on both sides.
Ooh, I can feel being up here in my stomach.
From this observation deck, you can see the sheer size of the house, as not even the Harwood family ever could. And how about the view? Spectacular now. In the 18th century, this was simple attic space, storing house goods and overflow visitors. Workers at Blackhaven did gossip about strange goings-on in the attic, passing rumors of occult ceremonies and witchcraft. But while the entire Harwood family loved puzzles and secrets, there's no evidence of anything more witchy than a stray broom or two. When you're done admiring the view, head down the stairs to the second floor elevated walkway.
Though part of me wants to see if I can make this rock back and forth. Never mind, too scared.
The elevated walkway. This glass elevated walkway is supported by both the main steel structure as well as braces anchored into the original brick. Many viewpoints show the massive interior of the house from angles never available to the Harwoods.
From this elevated walkway, we can get another marvelous view of the Blackhaven restoration. You can head left and walk along the platform on your way to the front porch balcony. The reconstruction began with the clearing of centuries of rubble, not all of it from the 18th, as many locals had found the ruins to be a convenient dumping pit. Local legends told of Blackhaven servants who were buried alive in the collapse, but no human remains were ever discovered. Once the rubble was clear, architects repaired the brickwork and built the central steel structure to provide support for the glass panels. If you look at some sections, like the glass corner coming up on your left, you'll notice that many plates of glass are actually acting as support columns, maximizing the amount of light and visibility in this innovative restoration.
The balcony, constructed almost entirely out of structural glass, this porch balcony provided a view of the main museum and the house grounds. The true size of the original estate was even larger, as shown in the recently discovered colonial guest map.
Well, looks like another stray post-it. Not sure which high school this is supposed to be for. I'm pro dog, though. Huh, Field of Daisies. My grandma's name is Daisy. She would hate it here.
This balcony shows the expansive size of the Blackhaven estate. From here to the museum was only the front yard, with the entire farm extending far beyond the tree lines to the left and right. The hundreds of acres included multiple villages of farmhands, as well as a carpentry, smithy, and gristmill, each with its own craftsman. And we are still learning more about Blackhaven even in the 21st century. On the plaque below is a traveling visitor's map of the entire estate, only recently discovered in the Library of Congress in 2006. Now continue back out and take a left into the Harwood bedroom.
The second floor of Blackhaven Hall consisted mainly of family bedrooms, including this one believed to be the space Thomas Harwood shared with his wife Sarah. The bed on display is a surviving example of an 18th century design, which may have belonged to the Harwood family.
Okay, my last day, I'm taking a nap here.
We can't be sure, but we believe this space was the master bedroom of Blackhaven Hall, where Thomas Harwood and his wife Sarah spent many loving years together. You'll also notice some of the period furnishing on display, including this real 18th century bed, possibly owned by the Harwoods themselves. While the frame is intact, the fabric on display is a modern reproduction. Many visitors admire the bed curtains on these old pieces, but few know their true purpose. In addition to keeping warmth in and insects out, bed curtains provided privacy between homeowners and any servants. After all, a man of Thomas's sterling reputation would never risk the embarrassment of running into a servant unexpectedly, especially in his honored bedroom. Now head out to the rear balcony overlooking the river for our next stop.
Like they know what Thomas was getting up to in here.
The battle. Thomas Harwood was standing near this exact spot when he first spotted the British ship that would precipitate the 1781 Battle of Blackhaven. The Harwood family and a group of farmhands valiantly defended the house with small musket fire, but were forced to abandon Blackhaven when British shelling set fire to the home. The incredible blaze completely destroyed the structure, which lay in ruins until this restoration.
You are now standing in the same spot as Thomas Harwood during the most harrowing night of his entire life, the Battle of Blackhaven. After British General Cornwallis landed in Virginia in 1781, Thomas had worried about the threat of raids and even turned down an invitation to join General Washington in Williamsburg, choosing instead to stay behind and defend the private river homes. Finally, one fateful night, Thomas spotted the tall mast of a British ship over the trees through his spyglass. British agents came ashore, attempting to seek a peaceful surrender and forage, but according to Sarah's later account, brave farm workers fired warning shots before they could even reach the garden. The rest of the family and staff barricaded themselves in the house, with muskets pointing down from every window. Plucky 7-year-old Elizabeth Harwood even risked life and limb to drape an American flag over the balcony, possibly the one now hanging in the museum. As nightfall approached, the British commanders lost their patience and trotted out small cannon and mortars to begin shelling the house. Cannonballs likely hit Blackhaven's walls, although later damage has made it difficult to tell, and aerial shells exploded terrifically in the air. Shrapnel from one bomb apparently broke an attic window and ignited a stack of linens, and Blackhaven was officially ablaze. The Harwoods and their servants fired back furiously, but the British waited for the flames to run their course. As the house filled with smoke, Thomas resolved to stay and become a true martyr for liberty, but Sarah pleaded with him to flee, assuring him that he could not help the new nation as a ghost. The family abandoned the raging fire and escaped into the night. Although we don't know for sure if the legend of Farmer Joe venturing into the burning house to save family heirlooms is true, crucial objects from the house do survive in our museum, whether they were carried or had been stowed away for safekeeping days before. What is certain is that the fire, which later spread to the nearby kitchen and stables, was final and marked a Patriot defeat and the end of Blackhaven Hall. Now, head back to the ground level, take a left, and continue to the site of the formal library.
That's a lot of patriotism for one family getting their house burned down.
The library, built along with the ballroom in Thomas Harwood's 1770 expansion of Blackhaven Hall, the library that once stood on this site had the largest private collection of books in all of the American colonies. Along with scientific instruments and natural specimens, the collection served as the inspiration for many of Harwood's great intellectual achievements.
Ugh, the most interesting room, and this is all they've got to show.
It is heartbreaking to believe that this was once the greatest library in all of the young United States. Filled with hundreds of leather-bound books, scientific instruments, and exotic animal and mineral specimens, the Blackhaven Library was designed by Thomas himself. His collection dwarfed even Thomas Jefferson's, and had it survived, Blackhaven's books, not Monticello's, might have been the basis for the Library of Congress. Lost, too, were Thomas's brilliant journals, some reportedly written in code, full of observations and experiments that might have rivaled Ben Franklin's. Little of the structure remains, possibly because the books here fueled an even hotter fire. The fire of Thomas Harwood's life would soon, too, burn out. Nearly a year after the battle, he began to suffer again from a mysterious illness that had plagued him for years. He finally succumbed to the disease and was buried with honor in Williamsburg before a massive crowd of patriots. Thomas's unexplained death spawned rumors of a poisoning, and even that Sarah had drugged Thomas after he had discovered a secret affair. But modern historians have found evidence only of a loving marriage and theorized that local Tories may have spread the rumors to discredit Thomas. His life now shines as an example to every American, a patriot who loved his wife and his country. You can now head down the stairs and to the left to the final plaque along the trail.
They used a lot of ifs for Thomas in that one.
Following the fire, the Blackhaven estate was purchased by Thomas Harwood's brother, William Harwood, who later built nearby Oakmont Plantation, still the home of the Harwood Dynasty. The Blackhaven Hall Historical Society thanks you for visiting and honoring the memory of our nation's founding.
Last one. Let's get back and get some lunch.
This is the final stop in our audio tour. We recommend you head back to the museum using the left trail. Blackhaven Hall was never to be rebuilt, as Thomas had vowed that the ruins stand forever as a monument to British treachery. Sarah and her daughter Elizabeth went to live with family in Maryland before she eventually remarried. Thomas's brother William Harwood, a farmer and Episcopal minister, eventually purchased most of the estate from Sarah. A few miles down the road, he built his own new grand home at Oakmont, named for the small tree-covered hill nearby. Oakmont's foundations were built by dismantling the Blackhaven lawn and garden walls to make use of the bricks. Oakmont lacked the imposing size and grandeur of Blackhaven Hall, but the Harwoods continued their commitment to defending liberty and free enterprise for every American. Although their loyalties to their Virginian countrymen required them to defend against the Union in the Civil War, the nation mended its divisions and ventured into the 20th century even stronger. Now the family is arguably more famous for Harcourt Industries, a global economic juggernaut, but their story of American success began right here, in the humble fields of Blackhaven. This concludes the Blackhaven audio tour. If you haven't already, be sure to visit our galleries and to pick up something for the special patriot in your life at our gift store. Oakmont Plantation, still the current residence of the 6th generation of the Harwood family, is open for scheduled tours the 1st and 3rd weekends of every month. And don't forget, both Blackhaven and Oakmont are available for weddings, anniversaries, and corporate events. We hope you enjoy the rest of your visit and find your own ways to honor the memory of our founding fathers. As Thomas Harwood once wrote, "Liberty is entrusted only to them who will work for it." Goodbye.
Pretty sure there were some people working here who didn't get their liberty. Whew, well, that's as good as Blackhaven lunch gets. Probably should get started on my last task. Audio tour is done, so the only thing left is, document scanning in the archive. Well, I better head over. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling Blackhaven Hall. This is Kendra speaking. How may I help you?
Oh, hello, Kendra. Thank you so much for taking my call. I just had a couple tiny little questions about y'all's wedding options. So, we are considering a date in September. We're going to have the ceremony on the lawn with the great big oak trees and the view of the river, and the reception in that magnificent new glass structure thing. But my question is, we're going to have a true flock of bridesmaids, and us girls all stomping around all day in 4-inch heels. We need a place to take a load off away from the boys, and well, we thought it'd be a hoot if we could hole up in one of those little cabins.
The cabins?
Yeah, you know, the cute little ones with the droopy little chimneys that look like summer camp.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Blackhaven Hall is a large brick 18th century mansion.
Oh, honey, I know Blackhaven. I just mean, like, when we went to have Cotillion at Shady Grove Plantation, they have those cute little cabins in a row out back.
Do you mean the slave cabins?
Oh, well, I mean, no, I don't think so. You know, we just thought it would be fun.
You thought it would be fun for you and your girls to put your feet up in a slave cabin?
Oh, you know, honey, I've kept you on the phone far too long. You must be so busy. I'll try back another time.
I'm not busy.
So thank you so much, dear. God bless.
What the
Dear Catherine, let me formally congratulate you on starting your first day at the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society. We are so proud to have such an accomplished young scholar join us for the summer. We try to keep things pretty casual here, but I wanted to pass on some guidelines to help you out the first couple of days. Make sure to flash that smile at yours at guests and give them some of the renowned Blackhaven hospitality. Answer every call to the desk with good morning or afternoon. Thanks for calling Blackhaven Hall. This is Catherine speaking. How may I help you? A reminder, our dress code is business casual, but you can save your especially fun accessories for our annual Flag Day picnic. I'm sure you won't have any problem with anything else unexpected. After 2 semesters at W&M, you may be ready to teach us a thing or two. Ticket of admission adult. This ticket entitles the holder to a visit of the galleries and grounds of Blackhaven Hall Plantation. At their leisure, up to date below, this ticket is not transferable. Helen Morris, 6th Director of the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society.
There's the scanning station. Now I have to go find the right box from the archive. Looks like I need Thomas first. I'll leave that there for now. Huh. Look at these. Check this pattern. These are so much more interesting than the ones in the case. Why aren't these on display? Wait. Oh my God. Are those... Damn, Blackhaven. Damn. Okay, here we go. This list has which collection is which number. I don't think this is the right folder. Nope. Okay, got the folder. Let me go scan this. Okay, Helen wants me to check every page top to bottom before scanning. These are always typed up though, so I don't have to read Thomas's handwriting. I've seen worse.
I rose at 6 o'clock and ate bread and butter for breakfast. I read 2 chapters on optics and also poetry and French. All morning I walked about the plantation and looked over the tobacco fields. In the afternoon I took Elizabeth to the walled garden and observed her lessons. Sarah says my young daughter reads well and is quite curious. I showed her a row of uncommonly colored cabbages I had planted, and the notes I had taken on their cultivation. Elizabeth was enchanted with their beautiful leaves and resolved to discover how best they grow. We made plans and a chart to record diverse amounts of rainfall, sunlight, temperature, and types of soil. Just as the fruits of the garden, she grows more lovely each day. But she too will require advantageous conditions. A watchful eye and a gentle hand will nurture best without oppressing the spirit. Much as our American nation once grew strong under the kind gaze of our mother country, I ate a very fine roast beef for dinner, and in the evening Sarah played the new piano for the girls, and I read in the lawn.
All right, that looks fine. Let me go hit scan on the laptop. Better finish my scanning before I go anywhere else. Well, here goes. Time for the genius of the Founding Fathers.
August 24th, I arose after 6 o'clock and ate milk and pears for breakfast. I read stories from Ovid and scriptures in Hebrew. In the morning, Sarah wished to entertain our guests from the previous night, but I greatly preferred my time alone. My wife is a good woman and maintains friendship with our many kind relations. In the afternoon, I went again to the garden to meet Elizabeth to oversee her arithmetic. I found her weeping, and that the finest of our cabbages had been removed by some mischievous creature. I related to her that as the master of plantation, many unexpected events occur, and it is often only Providence which chooses between bounty and blight. We shared a tender embrace, and she returned to her studies. I praised her penmanship and steady hand. Elizabeth already exhibits so many qualities of her mother and I, not the least her great cleverness. With her talent, she may one day find a match even more prominent than that of her sister Eleanor. I had mutton for dinner and jelly for dessert. In the evening, Sarah reads the fables to Elizabeth while I studied chess.
So genius is mostly just breakfast comments, apparently.
August 25th, I rose at 3 o'clock at the sound of the great thunderstorm. It raged with such ferocity and frequency of lightning that I could have seen clearly to walk within the house without the use of a candle. Despite her independence, Elizabeth ran to my room, and as I did not want her to wake her mother, I read to her softly in my bed. She had asked for a fairy tale so many times, I had already turned the page from habit, but zealous from her new learning, she insisted I read instead from her father's business. We took a copy of Plato's Architecture from my night table and together read it word by word, as her little hand dutifully turned each page. She pointed to the intricate plates and had me name each feature, saving none, and repeated the features of each ornamented column, window, and door. I became lost in my own speech on how I had put such principles to practice in Blackhaven when I saw that she had fallen fast asleep at my side. The storm had subsided, and the robins were singing, but it was still hours from dawn, so I carried her carefully and set her back in her bed and kissed her cheek as she dreamt of tall towers.
I guess Thomas does seem gentle with kids, though he put this one to sleep.
August 26th, I arose at 7 o'clock and ate milk and rice for breakfast. I reviewed my notes on the effect of the moon on tobacco worms and read of the history of Egypt and Herodotus. I rode out to the westernmost farm to talk with the overseer and examine his corn. When I saw Black Pompey ride out on Sarah's own horse greatly distressed, he informed me that Elizabeth could not be found in the house, and her mother was restless over her safety. I rode back with haste to meet my wife, who said Elizabeth had abandoned her studies in the garden, neglecting her book of arithmetic on the grass. When I came to the scene, I noticed that now 2 more of her treasured cabbages were missing, which made me newly suspect that the thief was no animal. As the Garden River gate had been left open, I took Pompey and Sam with me to look along the river banks. Not an hour into our search, I found her crossing through the brush without a care. I forgot for all her knowledge she is still a child, innocent of the world even after 6 years. She told me that she had gone looking for the cabbage to replace that which she had lost, thinking it might grow wild like the Sunday berries the Negroes pick. Thinking of her poor mother's kindly nature, I was first full of anger, but I acquiesced when I thought of Elizabeth's hearty spirit. She had run off not to lazily disregard her lessons, but to persevere our work in the garden. I hugged her and forgave her in that moment to encourage such industriousness as I always endeavored to teach. For dinner, I ate fish, and I slept early after only a chapter of botany.
She really got lost looking for lettuce in the forest. Poor Pompey getting dragged along in all her white girl nonsense. Gotta hit the scan button on the laptop before the next page.
August 28th, I arose before 6 o'clock and ate bread and butter for breakfast. I read my Bible and said my prayers for patience and generosity. In the morning, after settling my accounts in my office, I walked back to the garden. Now that the unseemly matter with the cabbages had been resolved, Elizabeth had moved to her next fancy, astronomy. I took her to the dial and explained the path of the earth around the sun, the globe's angle, and the seasons, and I promised to show her my orrery in the library by candlelight. How thankful I am for such moments between parent and child. It is truly by such kind meetings that our family prospers.
Wait, the matter with the cabbages got resolved? Is there a page missing? Better put this back in the box. Okay, gotta find the shelf where this box goes. Ready for the next folder. I can look at my instructions in the reading room or the collections index if I need to. Okay, got the folder. Let me go scan this. Okay, next set. Let's read about this scary-looking couple.
Anna Harwood Papers, Volume 4, correspondent from the Oakmont Library of the Harwood family, Anna Harwood and Gideon Harwood. Gideon Harwood to Anna Harwood, transcription on following page.
Gideon's handwriting is a lot of work. I shouldn't talk knowing basically no cursive. Anna's handwriting is a lot neater, but still hard to read somehow.
My dearest Anna, this will be the first letter you receive, and the first that has gone out to post since my enlistment. I write currently from the light of my campfire after a march of 12 miles. I now realize that the job of a soldier is to march more than to fight. I miss you terribly. I know our cause is true, but I cannot help wishing to see you and our boy in every moment. No matter the direction of compass, north, west, east, or south, I know all is but a long journey back to hold your poor little hand. And so every step I take is a step towards you. It has become apparent to me that for all the skills of a Southern gentleman, some of the other officers have not slept even a single night under the stars. Although some of my rank have scorned me for not partaking in the officers' mess, I have won great cheer for my hominy porridge. I owe it primarily to tricks from old Silas. I reckon that tired Negro may be cleverer than half the lot and most any Yankee.
Gideon got himself stuck out in the cold because he just couldn't give up those slaves.
We do hear rumors of engagements day to day, but so far I have seen no action. I know you think that I am a real hard man, and I'll grant I have never feared a day's real work, nor the heat nor the cold. There are many weak and venal men in our family line, and I've always worked to earn an eternal rest as a faithful servant. Nevertheless, I do fear the violence to come. Men full of whiskey boast and swear by firelight of how we're to whip the enemy, but not even the most enthusiastic papers can disguise that many of us will not return home. Yours always, Gideon. Anna Harwood to Gideon Harwood, June 11th, 1862. Gideon, my darling, you are a strong man. You know so many boys came calling to me, and I had no use for their foppish manners. You were always silent and true. My great oak, stronger than a hurricane, gentle in the breeze. You are learning so fast, but your proud wife is just as quick a study. I am so thankful now that father always kept us informed of our accounts and harvests. He remembered his mother's ingenuity as a widow and could not allow his daughters to go without the same. We do worry about getting the tobacco to market, but you were wise to plant more wheat in recent years. Some of ours may even reach your campfire plate. The darkies ask about the war, but I believe they fear Yankees pillaging more than their steady masters. Of course, Emily and Charlotte have run off together, but each did the same before the war, and I know they'll return to their infernal kin when their taste of adventure runs dry. Oh, how I wish all the Negro lot were as loyal as Henry, who he still carries on running the house and kitchen when I cannot. He'd not run to the Yankees once in 10 lifetimes. Like our son who fears a fall but will take his first steps to his mother, fear not as you take every step back towards me. We fight for liberty, be it against foreign tyrants or northern pretenders, and surely the good Lord in his infinite justice will deliver you to me. I shall keep in my private thoughts what plans I have for us when he does. A resourceful wife to a brave husband.
Shut your mouth, Anna. Emily and Charlotte better keep running.
Gideon Harwood to Anna Harwood, July 19th, 1864, my dearest Anna. I know that you have received word of my condition and my time in the hospital. I wanted to ease your tender heart, but now I am able to write from mine and tell you everything I could not dictate to the nurse. I had written to you about my first taste of the battlefield, which passed without much incident as we stayed behind with the artillery. But 3 weeks ago the bugle finally sounded for your husband, and I found myself charging across the field. I cannot describe the sensation adequately. There is a tremendous noise, but so there always is. There is the whiz of the balls as they cut through the air. There is dirt and smoke and cries of anger and anguish. But in the tumult, what I fear most deeply was the nervous sense of my nakedness. No barricade, no ditch, no country stone fence, only my stained gray wool between me and our Maker. I am ashamed to say I was terrified. With each step I took on my frightful path, I felt less and less the master of my body. It was at this moment that I felt my leg give out. It was as if some animal had pulled me down and hit the grass with all my weight. I was alert and aware that I could not move my right leg. I looked down and saw a ball had struck me and split upon my shin bone and blowed me wide open. I could not sop up the blood with my torn trousers, which were already soaked in the red, and I pressed hard to stay the bleeding and winced as I felt my bare bone against my dirty palms. In anguish I crawled just behind the safety of a knoll, and somehow removed my coat to tie it tight around my wound, and lay back in the grass.
It's so crazy to think about all this violence and chaos. And then every museum is such a quiet place.
Even amidst the terrible din, the world quieted. I could see only the blue sky and the white clouds in the nearby treetops. I felt the heat of the sun, the same as when we lay in the grass on Sunday picnics. I began to feel light in the head and supposed these were my last moments on earth. I should have made my confession, and instead I prayed your sweet name on my lips over and over. I thought of your hair resting light on the pillow, and I thought of how you skipped through the garden. I thought of our boy grown tall and strong and walking with me in the ruins of the old house, hearing the tales of great patriots and savage Indians like my father told me. But most of all, I watched the treetops sway. I thought perhaps if I must leave this earth, my spirit could follow you in the breeze, grazing your cheek and whispering fervently in your ear, my eternal love. I have more to tell, but weak as I am, my strength fades quickly. My pain lessens each day, but my gratitude remains constant. I thank heaven and earth I will see you again. Yours forever.
Gideon seems more pleasant than a lot of these people, but definitely racist.
September 2nd, 1864. Gideon, my most loving husband, my love for you is just as eternal. You doubt yourself because you are so humble and true. You are no coward. Your wounds testify to your bravery. I am certain deep in the mind of every man on the field are your same fears, but there are many who would not lead the charge. Indeed, there are many who would not even answer the call. You may dwell in your sadness, but I am giddy at the thought of your kind and handsome face. Oh, how I wish I could be there to cheer you. I would come in such a pretty dress and smile and sing and read to you and compose a sonnet in your honor. I would make the hospital into a ballroom, just as the one where we met, and show you so much affection that every pair of jealous eyes would be on me but mine would be only on you. Whatever may happen, do not mourn your body. My fine oak will not be diminished even by the loss of a branch. You be nothing like poor Henry, though he still manages to bring my breakfast up the stairs each day with his awful limp. You are a man of letters, the head of a fine and ancient family, thick with friends and rich in my love. How can we despair while our affections endure? With ever greater love, Anna.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. These two are really feeling each other. Ease up on Henry, though.
Anna Harwood to Gideon Harwood, April 5th. My only Gideon, it has taken me weeks, but I must write to you even though you will never read it. You lay now in some spot of cold earth. The officer who delivered the news could not even say for certain where. But my heart knows, because it is there every day and every night. Oh, Gideon, the light has gone out of my life. From my earliest years I was prepared to be a wife and a mother, and in my youth I could have taken the hand of any man in the state. But when I saw you, I knew I would never entertain another suitor. Our boy now says my name, and I tell him yours, and show him your picture. He will never know what it means to truly look at your sweet face, but he will know your image and your deeds. News came recently of our surrender and the death of our newly free nation, but it troubles me not, because all my aspirations have died with you. Many of the servants have stayed back to continue on their farms. After all, they know nothing else, nor are they suited to live without supervision. If my heart were not already broken beyond repair, it would have pained me to see a smiling Henry riding away on a Union wagon, but it was only now a small slight. Oh, how I curse Yankee arrogance and pride! They have undone my world, they have turned what is true upside down, and still not content, the damned animals have taken you from me. I would wipe 10,000 of them from the earth in a bloody instant, and not feel the slightest pang of remorse. You are worth them all, my precious love. I promise you I will never remarry. I know you are so kind you would wish me another warm bed, but I would not take it. I will live my days with a cool temper and a cold resolve, and dedicate my efforts to never forgetting our cause or your sacrifice.
Damn, they got Gideon. But Anna is really out here trying to commit a genocide in his honor.
My only solace is that, being so close to death before, you were able to relate to me the true depths of your love. I pray that you were given the chance to say my name as you expired, because I say yours each night when the darkness comes for me. Would my eyes close as yours are forever. I cannot realize any joy but believe in my dearest. I feel you in the breeze, Anna.
Anna is so awful, but I can still feel her loss. Why couldn't she feel anything for somebody like me? Better put this back in the box. Okay, gotta find the shelf where this box goes. Ready for the next folder. I can look at my instructions in the reading room or the collections index if I need to. Okay, got the folder. Let me go scan this.
Blackhaven Hall, Summary Report of Battlefield and Barn Excavations by Clarence Conway, John Rawlings, Stephen Armistead.
This This one seems more boring.
Introduction. These excavations aim to establish an archaeological understanding of the 1781 Battle of Blackhaven. While surviving historical sources recount the attack, particularly in the journal of Rebecca Harwood, there has to this point been little physical evidence from the battle. The earliest mention in the historical record comes from the Virginia Gazette approximately 2 weeks after the events in question, which quoted Thomas and Sarah Harwood. All accounts are consistent with the British troops landed at Blackhaven's private wharf and exchanged small musket fire with the Harwoods and their servants before shelling the main house with a small cannon and mortars, eventually igniting a fire. Rebecca's Harwood later 1824 diary also mentions a second skirmish, an exchange of small arms fire from servants barricaded inside a nearby tobacco drying barn. The barn itself continued in use until the late 1880s, when it was demolished after the construction of a replacement closer to the Oakmont Plantation. With these accounts in mind, strategic excavations were conducted at 5 sample sites, 2 near the main house facing the river, and 3 at the likely sites of British and American positions near the formed barn. Early use of metal detectors looking for traces of iron and lead ordnance shot informed the Battle of...
I bet that military weirdo from earlier would love this.
The earlier use of metal detectors looking for traces of iron and lead ordnance shot informed the choices of sites. Sites 1 and 2, the main house. Excavation at Sites 1 and 2 focused on recovering mortar shrapnel, musket balls, or cannon shot. Thus far, no such materials have been found. Much of the recovered material at Site 2 was related to food production, likely from the daily carrying of meals from the freestanding kitchen building to the main house dining room. Artifacts recovered from Site 1 were more varied but less intact, and are suggestive, perhaps, of an informal garbage pit. Some pottery shards from Site 1 suggest primary usage from much earlier periods in the late 17th or the 18th century.
They never found any bullets from the entire battle? Were they digging in the wrong place?
Sites 3 and 4, the barn. Excavations near the site of the tobacco drying barn focused again on the search for militaria. Some surviving accounts had made reference to barricades or even more formal redoubts, so attention was paid to ground variations potentially left by fortified embankments or ditches. Digging at potential sites revealed again no evidence of a military engagement, but did recover post holes and other soil evidence of between 5 and small timber structures. Although these are not mentioned in the surviving accounts of the skirmish, these appear to be nearest the slave quarters for tobacco laborers and some house servants. The location referred to as the Near Quarter in Thomas Harwood's surviving journal. Digging revealed a variety of everyday and agricultural objects, far less glass and porcelain than found at the house sites, but more culinaryware fragments, including a few with distinctive decorative markings, and iron goods like horseshoes and nails. One truly notable recovery for potential gallery display are the remains of a very fine imported porcelain teapot, which almost certainly was owned by the Harwood family rather than any of the slave families living in the quarter.
Oh wow, this is the teapot from the gallery.
On the mutual agreement of both the firm and the BHHS, digging at Site 5 was suspended.
Suspended? What was all that drama about?
Additional analysis was conducted on surviving artifacts owned by the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society and the Harwood family. In particular, are a set of musket balls from the 19th century collection of Anna Harwood. Using the taxonomy for early American ordnance established by Johnston Leland, 1968, page 1 through 8, it appears clear that the musket balls do not resemble any in common use by either American or British forces during the Revolutionary era. The caliber and quality of the shots suggests instead that they are from an earlier matchlock musket from the late 17th or early 18th century, most likely the type used for hunting geese or other fowl. Similarly, the brass gorget, said to have been abandoned by a dying British officer, clearly dates from the era of George II and could not have been a relic from the Battle of Blackhaven. It is, however, consistent in similarity to British forces active in the 7 Years' War, and may be possible to connect to the expedition led by the Colonel George Washington in the Fort Necessity campaign.
Yes, one more scan and I'm all done. Better put this back in the box. Okay, gotta find the shelf where this box goes. Whew, last one. This is a weird little guy stuck back here. Well, I did all the pages I can find. And it's almost time to close. Better head over to Helen's office and drop off my key. Okay, Helen said to leave the key in the top desk drawer. Archive key goes back. Huh. I wonder if this goes to that old file cabinet. I'm gonna go try it. Oh, Helen had her computer on sleep.
Paperwork for K. Turner. Dear Deborah, thanks so much for finishing up Kendra's paperwork. She's actually going to be staffing the museum all by herself tomorrow. It's a shame for her to miss the picnic, but you know, she probably wouldn't have the right dress anyway, and I would hate for someone to be intimidated by all the traditions. Plus, we don't need anyone tattling on Steve if he gets handsy for a couple of drinks. I have to admit, I was a little skeptical about taking on one of these HBCU girls after the amazing job Catherine did last year. I was just so nice to have another Gloucester Prep grad on staff, but Kendra helps us score a few diversity points with that scholarship program, and the only thing better than interns working for free is having the school pay us. I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. Make my punch a double, and I won't tell if you don't.
All right, Helen. I see how it is. Wait, this is the missing page from Thomas's journal. Why have they got this locked up in the corner? I need to take this over to the scanner and check it out. What else might be in here? Maybe some of the other missing pages are in here.
I rose after 6 o'clock and ate only milk for breakfast. I read in geometry and wrote to our neighbors about the news from Philadelphia. In the morning, I went to see the first leaves cut and hung to be dried in the barn. In my walk through the nearest quarter, I was occasioned with a shock. When what did I see but all three of Elizabeth's missing cabbages growing rudely in the Negro garden? I found Joseph in the field and had him pull the culprit away from her duties, and he brought a rather uncommonly wench named Patty. She feigned ignorance as to how such a marvelous specimen could be found replanted in her homely plot, when just then her girl Sally ran up to confess she had dug out the cabbages to help her mother, claiming that after a day in the fields the indolent creature had no time to mind the garden and cook for her kin. My temper justly rose, and I considered beating the girl, for not even a gentle foal can be broken to the saddle without the lash. But her mother pleaded so that I saw the wisdom of it. It was Patty, being fully grown, who deserved punishment for neglecting to train her child, so I had her whipped in full view of the girl and fed the cabbage to the pigs to show how thoroughly it had been spoilt by the instant. As the base thievery had soured my afternoon, I took a nap on the window couch before dinner of boiled beef and asparagus. In the evening, my mirth returned when Sarah played the piano.
God damn, he beat a mother in front of her child and then needed a nap? I knew Thomas was sketchy, but this is messed up. Did someone take this out to make him look better? Oh, it's William, Thomas's brother. He had to be jealous of his bro's hair.
Newspaper excerpts compiled for the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society from the collections of the Library of Congress. $10 reward run away from the subscriber on the 12th of this instant. My man Joshua, he is about 5 feet 6 inches high, about 26 of age. He formerly belonged to Richard Drew and may be lurking around his farm in Norfolk County, where he had a wife and daughter when he was purchased. He has run away to the same before, though he is not ill-treated. The above reward be given and all reasonable expenses paid for securing him in the county jail so that I get him again. William Harwood, Oakmont. $10 reward run away on Saturday, the 5th of this month. My cook Stephen, about 47 years of age. He is about 5 foot 9 inches tall, with a clever tongue, and he speaks a bit of French. He has a pleasant countenance and remarkable as a baker, and very active and handy. He also plays the fiddle well and may seek employment in such trades. In short, he is smart at anything he set about. He has a little skill in writing and may attempt to produce a pass and endeavor to pass as a free man. He has never run away before in many years of service, so I expect he has been enticed off by some villain. He had on a red wool coat with brass buttons and a silver buckle for his trousers. The above reward will be paid to anyone who will deliver him to me at Oakmont or confine him in any jail so that I get him again. William Harwood. Run away from the something in Oakmont. A Negro woman named Hannah, about 5 feet 2 inches high, a yellow mulatto girl with a bold countenance, aged about 35 years. She was branded on the shoulder at the old Blackhaven, and she may be very easily known be having part of her left ear cut off. She may have been seen crossing at the near ferry, and is very clever and lively. A reward of $10 will be given to any person who will secure and put her in jail so that I get her again. I forewarn all persons from harboring said Negro, as in this case they may expect to be prosecuted. William Harwood.
I don't know, William. Why would Stephen run? I mean, Joshua was only sold away from his family, and Hannah was branded and missing an ear. And William is the minister? How much time do I have? What else have these Blackhaven people hidden away in here?
My dearest Anna, before I can continue another...
Secret letters from Gideon and poor racist Anna. I hope they took these out because of adult content. All these awful people could at least spill a little tea for me.
October 10th, 1864. My dearest Anna, before I can continue even another word, I must tell you to keep this letter a secret as long as you live. In truth, it would be best for you to burn it, but I know you well enough to suspect you would never agree to such terms. My story does not begin with sorrow. In truth, I was recently rejoicing as I had recuperated enough to leave behind my hospital bed and take my first steps. My gait is uneven and painful, but I must thank our Lord for the surgeon and the nurses, for each considers my walking to be an evidence of his miracles. As I slowly recover, I wish to return to duty, but I was no longer fit to march with the healthy boys. Still, I begged and received a guard in our camp, which was still vulnerable to Yankee raids. Even through my pains, it felt sweet to hold a rifle and keep my post, and once again serve my fellow countrymen. 2 weeks after my new positions, some 4 companies of our men met the enemy in a fierce little battle not even 5 miles from camp, and all day the wounded were brought back to the hospital, and with each round came also Union prisoners. Short of rations as we were already, we worried about feeding the captives, and we made them to sit in a cattle pen in a clearing where they can do no mischief. I could not have prepared for what my eyes would see next. A full band of dozen unjumped Negroes, true contraband filth, brought into our camp, clad in the hated blue of the regular Union infantry. At first sight, these black rascals looked no more at ease in a uniform than apes, but as the shock subsided, we began debating what to do. Their presence so inflamed the tempers of every good rebel that we could not put them with the white Union men, or have the whole lot torn to pieces in a riot. Instead, I and another handful of guards marched them a few hundred yards into the nearby woods. Each of us were filled with contempt for these treacherous Negroes, and some in our party even stooped to hurling insults at these beasts, who looked back calmly at us as if deaf and dumb. I wish I can tell you true that our prisoners provoked us, but it is not the case. One of our men, unannounced and inflamed with passion, pulled out his pistol and shot one clean in the head. He fell, and his brains spilled out on the ground. His blood leaked into the boots of his companions. At least now some of the darkies yelled and begged. Some dropped to their knees, but there was no saving them. We each in a fury shot the rest, without thinking or speaking to one another. At least one of them I killed all alone. I shot him straight in the chest and saw the stains spread out through his coat until the life left his eyes. It was an awful scene, a slaughter, but they did not bleat like lambs. They looked at us with terror and disdain. I have seen so many fall on the field in the commotion of war, but this was different. Truly, it was criminal. Silently in our relief and in our guilt, we came back with shovels and dug a shallow trench to bury them. The men went through their pockets to claim their efforts, and one dropped a fine silver case in the dust. I retrieved it and opened up a daguerreotype depicting what must have been this man's plump black wife, just as well as a free woman. It was only in this moment I was overcome with guilt, but I could only see Bessie back at Oakmont, who raised me and my sister, who nursed us and fed us, and who held us close to her breast. Surely she loved her man in her own childish way, but there he lay dead in a pile. I still have not reconciled myself to the guilt I feel. War is a brutal business, and I would give any number of lives, both ours and theirs, if those who remain would live free from the tyranny. Truly, to preserve God's design and the order of the races, I would have killed 10 times as many as we did. But this felt nothing like victory, and I fear that I will suffer some greater judgment for violations of honor and conduct which we committed. I feel no pride in relaying these events to you, but you so value my honesty, I can only tell you nothing else. I love you still in this moment, Gideon. My kindest and dearest Gideon, woe that I cannot be there to soothe your noble heart. It is truly the wars are ugly affairs, but you remain shining and spotless in my eyes. I am proud you have so great a sense of order and decency that you were simply overcome with righteous anger and transgressed even the law to achieve the greater good. Of course, you and your compatriots are filled with rage. I seethe even now at the thought of ungrateful creatures. We give them so much more than their natures deserve. We provide them with not only sustenance and shelter, but discipline and purpose. We give the Lord truth and the keys to heaven. Least they have perished forever in darkest Africa. And yet, at their first chance, they betray us to foreign invaders, and would give over everything we built to corrupt new masters. You are filled with guilt because the right action was so difficult, but when our men, our good Southern men, wither and starve and die as beasts in Union camps, are we to think that Negro prisoners deserve better treatment? That honest white men are no better than... No, what you did was justice and deserving of a reward. I will reward you, so graciously, so lovingly, that all these horrors will seem as only the memories of dark dreams on a bright and sunny morning. With ever-increasing love and affection, Anna.
Holy shit. I just don't know what to say. Gideon shot an unarmed prisoner like a dog, and Anna is sad he couldn't kill more? With ever-increasing love? This bitch might as well have been in the Klan. Fuck. Blackhaven has had this the whole time. They act like Gideon is a hero. I don't know if I can come back after this. But I have to get my recommendation for Greece. And it's way too late to find something that's gonna pay as much as the school, especially back home. Okay, I can read a couple more. If I don't turn this key in by 5, I'll be fired way before I can ask for my rec.
Tidewater.
I like this letterhead. I wonder what they wanted from Blackhaven.
Dear Mrs. Lambert, my name is Dorothy Mitchell, and I am currently the director of Tidewater Negro Historical Association. I'm writing to formally request admission as a researcher in the library and archives of the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society. I have already conducted genealogical queries in nearby universities and recovered evidence that connects my family history to the Blackhaven estate. You will find with this letter copies of 3 relevant documents. An interview conducted by the Works Program Administration in 1938 with my late grandfather, Simon Howard. Simon had been a slave as youth in Western Virginia and recounted to a researcher that his grandmother, Grace, believed she was the granddaughter of the master of Blackhaven Plantation. Given her age, it is natural to believe she meant William Harwood, who, as you know, took possession of Blackhaven before building Oakmont after the storied Battle of Blackhaven. Number 2, a newspaper advertisement placed in the Richmond Inquiry in the 1867 corroborating this interview. The ad also placed by a Grace Howard seeks the whereabouts of her father, Rob's kin, and particularly his long-lost sister. Grace also mentions Rob's childhood memory of being born at Blackhaven and sold away with his mother. 3, a photograph of a curious artifact passed down through many generations of my family. It is of a carving of what I believe to be a bird in African styling, possibly a Sankofa figure. I was told as a child that it had once been owned by Rob, a token from his mother to preserve her memory. I believe research time in your archives will allow me to not only learn more about my family, but indeed the greater contributions of Afro-Americans in the history of Virginia. I will await a reply at your convenience and will be happy to furnish any additional credentials you may require. In addition, let me extend my warmest regards on your recent anniversary.
I love this woman. Is it possible her family are really Harwoods?
Blackhaven Historical Plantation Institutional
Time for Blackhaven to check in.
Dear Mrs. Mitchell, as it is customary for an institution to respond in writing to all requests for admission, I'm replying to your letter of May 12th. Blackhaven is professional, scholarly archive of the highest standard and does not casually admit amateurs to chase rumors based on hearsay. Frankly, your missive is so speculative as to represent an affront to common decency. Although it is beneath the charge of this body, I am bound to respond to each of your insinuations and defend the honor of those who can no longer protest themselves. Allow me to be blunt. It is utterly preposterous to suggest that William Harwood sired a mulatto child outside the bonds of his marriage. William was an Episcopal minister, devout and prayerful, and known only for his mild temper and cool constitution. William's well-established and spotless character should have ended your inquiry before it began, but my further examinations have revealed damning inconsistencies in each of your examples. One, in the interview transcript, Rob mentions that the family story that his grandmother would style her hair in the mirrors of the Blackhaven Ballroom, and that the mirror was topped with a swan. Had you troubled yourself to visit our galleries on the third Thursday of each month when we welcome Negro visitors, you would know that one of the mirrors survive in our collection and features no such swan decoration. The women in question must have concocted the story from the wide repute of Blackhaven's famed seal. 2, in the newspaper advertisement, Mr. Howard recounts that his grandmother worked in a mill along the Hickory Creek, but our period renderings of the estate show no body of water by that name, with multiple documents instead referring to Blackhaven Mill sitting next to the Nicholas Stream. Finally, I am distressed to report that one of our archaeological experts reviewed the photograph of your family heirloom and believes it to be a modern forgery. It is true that it shares many of the crude, primitive stylings typical to African art, but nothing of a similar appearance has ever been recovered in this area of Virginia. This piece is much more likely a modern fraud of the cheap sort commonly proffered in northern cities to appeal to the backwards-looking sensibilities of Negroes who embrace so-called black nationalism. For all these reasons, we cannot seriously consider your application for a mission. We kindly ask that you refrain from replying so as to respect the time of our staff in dealing with serious scholars. Rosemary Lambert.
I need to read down to the end of every page. Ugh, Rosemary, you cold piece of I'd be mad, but you're probably dead. And you're in a folder that's already full of lies. Maybe you're lying to Dorothy, too.
Information wanted of my family on behalf of my father, Rob, who is 87 years old. He was bred and born in Virginia and recollects being told that he lived in Blackhaven Plantation just after the Revolution. He and his mother were sold away west when he was only a babe, and he wishes to inquire about his only sister, who he left behind. He believes her name was Lizzie or Nancy, but he lost his mother so young he cannot remember. Any information of the above-named party would be very thankfully received by Grace Howard, Box 123, Richmond, Virginia.
This is so sad. Rob, I hope you and your sister are together now and at peace.
Interview of Mr. Simon Howard, ex-slave, by Deborah McDowell, February 26, 1937, Youth and Family. I lived all my life near the mountains in Virginia. It's born in the 40s, and I don't remember the year now that so many has passed. When the year came, 3 generations of my family lived under them hills. My mother's name was Grace, and she had a kind heart, and she never forgot nothing. She would tell us children's stories about family and the history of the state. She always took pride in knowing who the president was, and would ask the master about him. Although I remember she knew well enough not to ask Master about President Lincoln, for it was on account of him that the war had started. She told me that grandfather, who was very old and no longer spoke in the time that I remember him, she told me that he had been born in Blackhaven Plantation. I believe his name was Robert, though I had never heard him say it, but everyone on the farm had called him Old Rob. She always told us that he'd been born way back east along the coast, and he and his mother had been sold to us when she was a meek infant. She told us lots of stories about her grandmother, Rob's mother, but never forgot about his father. She told us lots of stories about her grandmother, Rob's mother, but never about his father. I can tell there was something sad about it, and one time I was brave enough to ask. She said she wasn't sure, but she believed that her grandfather, Rob's father, had been a white man, the master of Blackhaven. But I never knew any more than that. Our master had some distant relation with the farm, but I believe they now call it Oakmont. My mother told me my great-grandmother remembered some of her life at Blackhaven, that her husband was a cooper or smith who worked next to the mill on Hickory Creek. He used to tell her that her hair was as soft as the moss that grew in the clear running water there. My great-grandmother had been working in the house before it burned down during the Revolution, and my mother said it was as fine a house as George Washington's. I think she liked telling us those stories because it made her feel like this was her country. Me and mine never felt that way. Wasn't ours for the war, and wasn't when the Yankees came. Ain't ours now, though I'm glad to be free. Anyhow, my mother told me how before my great-grandmother would go to meet my great-grandfather, she would sneak and fix her hair in the ballroom mirrors of Blackhaven, these fine gold things that had swans perched atop them. Then she'd walk all across the plantation and wait to see him outside the mill right after sundown, and they watched the last pink light shine on the river. My mother said her grandmother had loved the sunset, but could never take one in again once they sold her west. Felt too much like turning her back on her dear old man.
This is a lot of detail for someone this old. Simon doesn't seem confused, and Dorothy's letter is so careful. Look at her. She doesn't look like someone who wastes her time. Also, didn't she say there was a photo of a bird? Did Blackhaven hide that too? Ugh, if only I had a little more time to check. If I don't start walking to the office right this second, I'll never make it. Fuck it. I don't care if they know I snooped. Greece has been there for 3,000 years. It can wait a couple more. Dorothy, you and I are gonna get some answers. I need to read down to the end of every page.
Contract between Solomon Harwood and Virgil Riley, Commonwealth of Virginia, Gloucester Country. Articles of agreement made and entered into this first day of January 1868 between Solomon Harwood of the first part, Virgil Riley, freedman of the second part. The said party of the second part agreed to bind themselves to work for the said party of the first during the year 1868 on the appointed farm near Oakmont. Said Virgil Riley and with his wife and children are to work on said farm as before the war and cultivate 20 acres in corn and 20 in cotton, keep fences in good order and do all other work necessary, and for their said services to receive 1/2 of the cotton and 1/3 of corn raised after all necessary expenses are deducted. Said Virgil Riley agrees to furnish themselves in provisions, clothing, and medicine. His wife further agrees and binds themselves to all the washing and ironing and all other housework necessary at the South Foreman's house during said year 1868. Said Virgil Riley furthermore binds themselves that they will obey the orders of Harwood in all things and do good labor 10 hours a day on average, winter or summer, with all lost time paid at the rate of $1 per day. In witness whereof or hereto said our hands and seals the date first above written.
So even as a free man, Virgil and his wife are still picking the Harwood's cotton.
Oakmont Negro jailed for attempted murder. Williamsburg, Virginia, August 2nd. Oakmont Negro Virgil Riley is being held in a Gloucester County jail for an attempt on the life of the prominent planter and businessman Solomon Harwood. Harmon was drawn into an altercation with Riley when he attempted to collect on a delinquent debt. Riley had seized Harwood's revolver and fired a shot which struck him in the shoulder. Riley spins tale of woe. Speaking of the attempt on Harwood's life, Riley justifies the violence. My wife has been sick going on a week and unable to do her work. Mr. Harwood had come to us demanding $1 a day for each she missed, and I told him this and did not suit me. After 2 drought years, we didn't have that kind of money. He told me to move my wife from the cabin right away, and I replied it would kill her, as she is very sick. He said it made no difference and that he would show me my place. He struck me with a strap and had me on the ground. I was afraid he would kill me, so I stole his pistol and fired only once. Harwood convalesces in his grand house. Solomon Harwood sought to clarify the matter while resting under the care of his loving wife from Oakmont Virgil once worked about as well as any Negro, but he has grown too comfortable in his position and has made a habit of indolence. His wife is bitter and preening, probably on account of too many years shared with a Channing husband. I suspect his sense of purpose will be renewed now that he has to work for the county. Riley faces up to 20 years of hard labor for his crime.
Every generation of these Harwoods is the same. Virgil was just trying to protect his wife, and now he won't see her for 20 years.
Who founded Blackhaven Hall and why? Nathaniel Harwood founded Blackhaven as a brave response to an Indian massacre of innocent farmers. He set an example that ingenuity and hard work would always lead to success in America. How did Thomas Harwood contribute to American independence? Was a fierce patriot who wrote in defense of liberty and property and fought bravely at the Battle of Blackhaven. As a signer of the Declaration of Independence, he led Virginia in rejecting British tyranny. Was Blackhaven Hall unique in owning slaves? No. Every British colony had slaves and servants, as did every civilized nation. How were the slaves at Blackhaven treated? The Harwoods had a reputation throughout the state as gentle masters, as cruelty would have offended their neighbors and limited their efficiency and profit. Who built Oakmont Plantation? William Harwood, a humble and kindly minister and brother of Thomas Harwood.
I gotta give them some credit. Nearly every one of these questions is disproved just by the stuff in this folder.
Beautiful Confederate monument honors heroes who wore the gray.
Mr. Johnson always tried to say in 7th grade history that monuments were about heritage, not hate. He needs to read what a monster war criminal murderer Precious Gideon Harwood was.
Congress of the United States House Representative, Mrs. Rosemary Lambert. Dear Rosie, I want to thank you so much for your warm hospitality at the Blackhaven Flag Day picnic. Marjorie and I had a wonderful time, and our kids were absolutely tickled exploring the ruins. That bunch couldn't decide whether they were playing George Washington or General Lee, but they had a right good time. Of course, we also want to thank you and the Foundation for your continued support of our campaign. No matter what Judge Warren has seen fit to write, I am a tireless defender of constitutional government and states' sovereignty, and will work always to promote peaceful and prosperous separation between the races. Give my best to Martin and the girls. P.S. Let me add that it was such a thrill to see old Charlie Harwood again. I told him that this was the most fun I've had since he and I corked up together from the 29 Follies. And they say our people have no rhythm.
Okay, Dorothy. Rosemary was tight with the straight-up white supremacists, and we're supposed to trust her over you? No. We're gonna crack this.
Dear Mrs. Lambert, this letter serves to confirm the mutual suspension of our contract for excavations at the Blackhaven Hall historical site. As stated in our previous correspondence, we are more than willing to continue with the excavations at Site 5, although at this point we find it extremely unlikely that we will be able to recover any material evidence from the Battle of Blackhaven, given the returns from Site 3 and 4. Nevertheless, we have already documented numerous significant findings about the lives of Blackhaven slaves at what we believe to be the near quarters, and believe further investigations could greatly benefit your museum and education programs. However, we are bound by our recent ethics agreement with other peer firms to a very specific set of protocols regarding the excavations of human remains. As we reported in our previous letter, we stopped our initial dig at Site 5 when one of our contractors uncovered a bone we later confirmed to be a human clavicle, likely a male of African descent. Our ethics pledge requires us to immediately make a good faith effort to contact local descendant communities and take any agreed-upon steps towards repatriation of remains at the expense of the client. As you have declined to pursue this course of action, we are, as mentioned previously, invoking the mutual dissolution clause in our contract. Informally, as a colleague in heritage work, I would still implore you to take these steps on your own. We will still prepare a report for our already completed work and have that presented to the archive at the original deadline.
Oh my fucking god. Blackhaven covered up a slave burial ground? This wasn't even that long ago, just before Helen. Shit! Does she know about this?
Norton and Page Associates, Helen Morris. I am writing to summarize the finding of summary judgment verdict rendered regarding Jennifer Harwood's claim to membership on the board of Blackhaven Hall Historical Foundation. As you are aware, all living direct descendants of Thomas Harwood or William Harwood are automatically granted the status of beneficiaries with regards to the Harwood Estate Trust. You will also recall that the previous settlement between Jennifer and the trust manager found that even though she had emancipated herself from Thomas and Linda following her time in rehab, she still maintained her status as a trust beneficiary and was entitled to a nearly dividend payment of the Harcorp Industries, a Kyoko share of 10% of the annual corporate profits. As a result of the trust's initial investment in the company, because the terms of the Historical Foundation bylaws are much vaguer than that of the trust, we argue that Jennifer should not receive a place on the board, but the Judge Wallace has dismissed our lawsuit to prevent her from taking a seat. The judge made it clear that any direct descendants can automatically claim trust benefits, the annual payment, and foundation board membership. While this outcome is disappointing, the judge also found that board members must be physically present to vote, and as Jennifer's last listed residence is still in Costa Rica, you are likely do not need to concern yourself with this possibility in the near future.
Wait, hold up. Any descendant of William gets a share of 10% of Harcourt profits? They're like a Fortune 500 company. Even if there's dozens of current descendants, that would be hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. They've been trying to keep this from you for years, Dorothy. What if you're right? Forget researching here, you'd be running this place.
Dear Mrs. Morris, in regards to your previous letter concerning the Americans with a Disability Act, ADA, compliance of the Blackhaven Hall restoration project. Yes, it is true that certain historical sites are eligible for exemptions if they meet the established test that compliance would threaten or destroy the historical significance of the site in question. The argument that Blackhaven's long-established status as a ruin since 1781 would be imperiled by ADA-compliant accommodations is likely to withstand a challenge, particularly in our district court, but I'm not sure this exemption is truly in the spirit of law, given the architectural character of your upcoming project. Nevertheless, I will await your instructions on how to proceed.
Can't ask the Harwoods to do even one simple good thing. Hold up. This is the bird Dorothy mentioned. I gotta say, it does kind of look like a robin, but also in an African style. And look at the pattern. Didn't I see that earlier somewhere around here? I need to go check. Yes, this one. It's the exact same design. Even the feel of it is the same. It's like the same person did it. And they found this in the slave cabins. That means Rosemary and Blackhaven lied to Dorothy about her evidence the whole time. You were right, you were right, you were right. Okay, but what about the next two objections? Rosemary said Simon's story was false because Blackhaven's mirror didn't have a swan. Isn't there a mirror in the gallery? Maybe I can figure out why it doesn't have a swan. I should also call my mom. Maybe she can check out some things for me. Hi, Mom. No, I'm not back home yet. I'm actually still at the museum. No, they're not gonna pay me overtime. They don't even know I'm here. Mom, I'm researching something and it could be really big. But I'm locked out of the internet and my phone doesn't get data out here. Can you see if you can find a contact number for a woman named Dorothy Mitchell? She's pretty old, but I think she lives in the area. Yeah, Mitchell with an M. I don't know if it has one L or two, just try both. You can just email me from my work address if you find anything. Thank you. I'll call you from my desk when I finish up. All right, Mom, bye. Okay, I gotta go check the mirror. Well, here it is again. There's definitely no swan. I wonder what other info Blackhaven has. Oh! Helen did say that they were going to be beta testing object scans. I wonder if I can scan for more info. Yes!
This ornamental mirror was originally one of the pair that believed to have hung in the Blackhaven Ballroom.
Wait. This mirror was one of a pair? And they found the other? Ah! The swan! When Rosemary told off Dorothy, this hadn't even been discovered. Dorothy, you were right again. Your grandfather remembered. His mother, his grandmother, they remembered. Oh my God. She looked at herself in these shards. I can't imagine. Okay, there's only one more point left to prove. Let me go check my email and see if Mom found anything. I should see if my mom wrote back.
Kendra, I looked up this Mitchell woman and it seems like she had a truly incredible life. What does she have to do with the Blackhaven people? It looks like she was into history. Unfortunately, she passed a few years ago. I found her obituary and attached it below. I also tried looking for her on Facebook, and I believe I found her grandson, Anthony. If he's still at the same place, I found his number in an old phone book. It's 757-555-6536. How's that for detective work? Call me when you're finished. I want to know what you're digging up on the job. Love, Mom. Dorothy Mitchell, 86, of Newport News, passed away peacefully in her sleep surrounded by family, attending family September 14, 2004, at St. Mark's Hospital, Norfolk. Funeral services will be held Friday at 2 p.m. at the Chesapeake African Episcopal Church. Burial will follow at Walnut Grove Cemetery. She was born February 17, 1918, the daughter of Gregory and Eunice Howard. She married Sam Mitchell, a factory foreman and an Army vet, on June 10, 1946. He passed away on November 6, 1992. Mrs. Mitchell was a beloved educator and civic activist, a longtime school teacher and the first black woman to teach in an integrated county schools. She was active in the civil rights movement, leading multiple voter registration drives and lecturing widely on black history. Mrs. Mitchell was a founder and director of the Tidewater Black Historical Association, and in 1987 published the historical collections Tidewater Voices. Remembrance of Black Virginia. In 1992, she helped establish the Chesapeake Black Excellence Scholarship Fund, and in recognition of her efforts, she received an honorary doctorate in 1998. Later in life, she was often fond of sending neighbor children home with vegetables from her garden. She is survived by her children, George Mitchell and Amelia Robinson, and her grandchildren, Anthony Mitchell, Daniel Mitchell, and Irene Johnson.
Oh no, Dorothy. I guess you were older than it seemed looking at that picture. She didn't need the Harwoods' money, but the family needs to know she might be right. Anthony seems nice. Damn, can you imagine if he was at the next meeting with Helen? Alright, Dorothy. First, Blackhaven said you couldn't be a descendant from the Harwoods because the bird carving wasn't authentic. That's wrong. It looks just like Blackhaven's own pottery. Next, they said Simon's family was never here because their mirrors didn't have a swan. But oh wait, yes they did. Last, they say Simon had the wrong name for the creek at the mill. He said Hickory Creek. Blackhaven said Nicholas Stream. Ugh, how am I supposed to know what a creek was called 200 years ago? The model over there doesn't even show the river. Let me call my mom real quick and thank her. Hey Mom, thanks for sending that stuff along. Let me put you on speaker. Can you hear me?
Are you by yourself?
Yeah, Mom, of course.
So, what did you find out about this Mitchell woman?
Mom, I'm not sure, but I think Blackhaven might owe her family some money. Like a lot of money. And maybe some other things.
Oh, did she do some work for them?
No, Mom, it's a lot bigger than that. But I don't want to say anything more until I'm totally sure. I just have to check one more thing before I leave.
It makes me wish I'd gone to hear her before she passed. Even the foundation name sounds familiar. Where have I heard that before? 1 second. I'm going to check this. Chesapeake Black Excellence Scholarship Fund. Here's their page. List of projects. Wait. Oh my god. They're the chief sponsor of Lee. Kendra, baby, do you know who this woman is? She paid for your scholarship.
What? Dorothy, you're the whole reason I'm even standing here.
You still there?
Yeah, Mom, that's crazy. Okay, Mom, I promise I'll check in just a bit. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, honey. Just call me back. And don't get into too much trouble. I can't be calling Grandma Daisy to bail my child out of jail.
Yeah, bye, Mom. Love you. Daisy! There was a map in the big house with the field of daisies. It might show the real name of the creek. I've got to go check. I just need to run up to the house and check that map. Yes, here's the map. And it wasn't found until 2006, so Blackhaven hadn't even seen this when they told her Simon remembered Throne Creek. Okay, one last time. Dorothy thought her ancestors met at Hickory Creek, but Blackhaven said the only one with a mill was the Nicholas Stream. Let's see. There's a few little rivers here. Oh, I should use the key. Okay, stables, garden. Is there a Nicholas Stream? That's it. It's really there, on their own damn map. Hickory Creek. Dorothy was a better historian than any of them. She really should have run this place. She probably should own this place. It might literally be in her blood. Wait, they could test DNA now. The family could know for sure if they're really Harwoods after all. Anthony, oh my God, what am I about to drop on you? I gotta find a place with some cell service to call him. Maybe out front on the park bench. Whew, here we go. About to become Blackhaven's worst intern of all time. Come on, pick up. Maybe it's the wrong number.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. May I speak to Anthony Mitchell?
This is him.
And are you the grandson of a Dorothy Mitchell?
Who is this anyways? If you're with the charity folks, I have told y'all, you should not be calling me at home. The estate handles all of her donations.
No. Actually, I'm calling from the Blackhaven Hall Historical Society. And, Mr. Mitchell? We need to talk.